Greetings. Welcome back. It has been weeks since I've looked at Java. I subscribed to the thought of I'm never going to use this, so why bother? I made a promise to the 5 people that watch these that I was going to learn Java to the point where I could make a Sudoku solver without tutorials. I'm going to kind of do that, except I'm definitely going to use a tutorial. But I'm not going to copy the tutorial. And then I took my own notes on what to do, and I'm going to change a few things, and then I'm going to regurgitate the logic to you, so I will actually have learned it, and I'm not just copying tutorials. There's a lot of stuff going on here, but I think I get the gist of it, and this is going to be a 2-part video. This first one's just going to be the internal logic. So we're going to set up the validator. That's going to check the numbers in the Sudoku solver. It's a 2D array. It's going to check all the numbers and make sure that it is a valid placement. Then in part 2, we're going to do the solver, the actual logic that is going to go through and solve the thing for us. You might notice my camera is swaying back and forth like a pendulum because it effectively is. It's attached with a shoelace to this chandelier. I left my tripod at work, so this is the way we have to do this. Let's learn some code. This is kind of fun, isn't it? The phone being on a fucking string. Unprofessional. That's why we need some money. As long as the cat doesn't start fucking with it. All right. First things we're going to do is we're going to make our game board so that we can start validating the numbers. Okay. So we're going to go int, make a 2D array. So we need our square brackets, 2 of them because there's rows and there are columns. Oh my God. All right. Same. So we're gonna do curly braces, and there's literally it's the tic-tac-toe board, but just way bigger. So I'm gonna cheat here. I already have a Sudoku set picked out in the format that we need, and I'm literally just gonna copy and paste it in here. We're gonna do object-oriented programming, so we're gonna try to keep the main method as clean as we can. Next, we're going to create a new class. Validator. All right, validator. That's our class. All of our methods that we're going to make are going to be in this class. And the internal logic, we're going to make it private, except for the actual validation method. That one will be public. That way it's just like clean code is what we're going for. One thing we're going to do real quick, since we're dealing with the number 1 through 9 a lot, or 0 through 9, which is actually 8 because it starts from 0, variable we can use besides 9, just to make following all of these numbers that we're going to be working with a lot easier. So this is going to be a private class, static, final int equals 9. Well, we'll call it grid size, and that's going to equal 9. When we're doing our logic for these helper methods, we're just going to use grid size, and that's just going to signify 9, and it'll help clean up things because there's going to be a lot of numbers being input constantly. So final int has been set up. Next step is we're going to check to see if the number's in a row. If you know the rules of Sudoku, there's rows and columns. Each row can only have the number once, and each column can only have the number 1 through 9 once. And then there's these little boxes, and there's 3 by 3 boxes that comprise the whole board, and those can only have the number 1 through 9. That's the tough part. That's the thing that gets people. So we're going to create a helper method that checks all 3 of those to see if the number is already there. Private Boolean, and all of these are going to produce Booleans because we just want to know, is the number there? True. Is the number not there? False. I think we want little Boolean. because we don't want null. Okay, is the number in the row? And what are our parameters? Well, first our parameter is going to be the game board because that's what we're referencing. So we're going to do int square braces to signify that it is a 2D array. Sudoku board is our first one. The second one is going to be the number. So this is going to be the number that the computer's trying out. So it can be a number 1 through 9, and we'll establish that in the for loop. And then the last one is going to be the row, because we're dealing with rows. So int row. So we're going to start with a for loop. Int I equals 0, semicolon, I is less than, and we're gonna call our final main.gridSize. That's because we did this in a class, I guess. Int I equals 0, and that's the start point, 0. We want it to count up to the max, which is the grid size. I plus plus. And iterating through each number to see if it works. We need to give it like a condition in which it can stop. This is when we're going to implement the if statement. So for number up to 9 going up, if Sudoku board equals, okay, so if the row equals the number equals number, that shouldn't be highlighted. I'm not sure why it is. Return true. Return false. Why wouldn't this work? What's wrong with this? Public, private. Hold on, I gotta figure this out. Okay, I think we figured it out. This needed an equal sign. Because Booleans, I think, have our helper method for the row. Now we're going to command V. We want the same thing, but we're going to do column now. In call. And we're going to change this parameter to call for column. This is all going to be the same, except instead of iterating for the first coordinate, we want the second coordinate for column. So this one's handling the first coordinate. We're going to leave that at I. This one's handling the second one. We'll leave that at I. Hear that net crack? It's a good one. Let's add one more. This one's for the local box, and this one's going to be a little bit different. Okay, so we're going to type this one from scratch, no copy paste. All right, very similar but different. Is number in box. And this one is going to have more parameters because we need both coordinates to determine where the box is. The computer can't decipher that we're looking for these 3x3 boxes, so we need to tell it where to start looking. Int column, well, int row and int column. Okay, so that way we can find out both of these to determine where the box is. And we're going to do a for loop so that we can iterate through the numbers. So, well, actually, before we do that, we need to do something real quick. Local box, row. Row minus row. And this was the hard part that took me forever to understand. Modulo 3. I got this kind of stabilized. I have some explaining to do. Okay, so basically what we have here. So we have is the number in the row. Goes through the row. It's going to iterate 1 through 8, which is technically 9. 1 through 8, and it's going to see if that number's in the row, and it goes down to the board, this board, and it's going to go to a column and see if the number is in the column. So in this column, you couldn't do a 1 because there's a 1 right there, or you couldn't do an 8 because there's an 8 down there. All right? So then this is where it gets tricky. This is what I had ChatGPT to explain. what we're doing here is this equation, the modulo, if you iterate modulos 1 through 9, well, I guess 1 through 8, 0 through 8, you get a sequence of numbers. So like 1 mod 3 is 1, 2 mod 3 is 2, 3 mod 3 is 0. Anyways, if you take any combination 0 through 8 coordinates and you apply them to this equation, let me find, I have a, is this it? Perfect. Okay. I got the screenshot. Basically, anything you put in here is going to equal one of these combinations. 03 or 0003, 06, 36. And what we're doing basically is any number you put in, it's going to find where the nearest left-hand corner is. So like right here, right here, right here, right here, right here. And then once we have that number, we're going to use this for loop, and it's going to add 3 to both of those to figure out where the box is. So you add this, it's going to go 3 here, 3 there. It knows that there's a box there. For instance, if you chose the coordinates 5 and 8, okay? 5, row 5, which would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Column 8, which would be right here. It would be at the end. If you do the modulo, so it would be 5 minus 5 mod 3, which gets you to 3, because 5 mod 3 is 2. So 5 minus 2 is 3. And then you do 8 minus 8 modulo 3. 8 minus 8 mod 3. 8 mod 3 is 2. So 8 minus 2 is 6. So it'll take you to 3, 6. So that was just a random coordinate. 5, 8. Takes you to 3, 6. So it knows that we're right here. And then this for loop takes the row and the column that we just figured out here, and it adds 3. So it's going to go 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And it knows that we're operating in that box, and it's going to search for the number in that box. And if it is in there, then it's going to return true or false. That is the logic there, and I just saw a bug. At this point, we needed I and J because we're dealing with 2 different things, so that is supposed to be a J. Hope that makes sense. That is how we figure out the box. Now the final thing for this video is we need the formal validator method. Okay, this one's going to be a public method. Put it down here. And this is going to take everything that it's going to, these 3 are internal methods. This last one is going to just like check all of those and tell you if the number is not there. We're going to do public static boolean. Public static boolean is valid. Is valid placement. And then the parameters of this one will be the int Sudoku board, int call, int number. Perfect. Okay. So those are the parameters we're passing in to validate everything. And then it's going to say return not, wait, the exclamation point means not. The reason we're doing not is because we want the like anti-true. So if the number is in the row, it's going to return true. So this, we want to do not that. The false is to stop it from iterating, but we want the trues to get reported through here because we want like the not version. Is that right? Is it, maybe we want the false? I don't know. We want it to stop iterating, and we want that number where it stopped, which is why we're using the not. It's really convoluted. And I think it contradicts what I said earlier. And if it does, my bad. And then we want the, okay, no. And is number and column, same parameters. And since we're asking booleans, you know, we need arguments. Now, why is that red? That should. Okay. That is why. And the parameters here will be board number, row, and column because this box one has 2 coordinates. So the validator is going to check all the numbers using these methods. It needs, since it's using AND operator, the double AND, all of these need to be true for it to be a valid number. Next video will show it actually in use once we get the logic for the solver. It's going to go through and like actually solve it. This is just the validator. I hope you learned something. I learned something. So that is part 1 of the Sudoku solver, final Java lesson. This is how we are filming this lesson. Pretty good, as long as we can get it to, there we go. Nope, it'll come back around. Yeah, he's pretty interested.